Hello class, today I will be giving my 3 points on the 3 questions asked in Module 4. First question asks, what is eugenics and how did eugenics inform the legal case known as Madrigal versus Quilligan? Eugenics, as it relates to this lecture, is defined as a philosophy and social movement that argues it is possible to improve the human race and society by encouraging reproduction by people or populations with desirable traits or positive eugenics, and discouraging reproduction by people with undesirable qualities or negative eugenics. The eugenics movement began in the United States and was the first country to have a systematic program for performing sterilizations in individuals without their knowledge or against their will. The majority of people targeted for sterilization were considered to be inferior in intelligence or people with mental health issues. In the case of Madrigal versus Quilligan, the plaintiffs were working class of Mexican descent women who had been coerced into postpartum tubular ligations minutes or hours after undergoing cesarean deliveries. Madrigal versus Quilligan stands for the thousands of unwanted sterilizations reported in the U.S. Mexican women were targeted because, as California eugenists like Jordan and Holmes stated, Mexicans were irresponsible breeders who flooded over the border in hordes. According to the article Sterilized in the Name of Public Health, Mexicans had the largest families but rarely produced children of superior quality. They believed eugenics was the protection of the public health and the health security of the citizens of every state. The second question is, what roles did gender and sexuality play in the outcome of the legal case presented in the film Southwest of Salem? Module 4 tells us that before the mid-1970s, gender was not important to criminology because men had been the vast majority of offenders and dominated the criminal justice. Women made up a small percentage of offenders and tended to commit less serious crimes than men. The reading also teaches us that gender refers to the society constructed roles, appearances, and identities, and the specific practices and understandings arising from those positions which developed from cultural interpretations of sex and the body. This means gender is whatever that person identifies themselves as, female or male. Sexuality relates to the objects of one's desire, some sex or opposite sex, or sexuality can describe the nature of one's desire, including pedophilia. Therefore, I believe that when the case of the San Antonio Four had happened in 1994, homosexuality was still not fully accepted. So since the women were all lesbians or once lesbians, they were identified as men and not women, which, like we stated, men were more prone to commit more serious crimes. They were seen as immoral by Stephanie's father and grandmother, which made the women more vulnerable to being falsely accused and convicted for the crime they did not commit. The last question on Module 4 talks about the banning of ethnic studies in grades kinder through 12. It states that the Arizona House Bill 2281 banned ethnic studies in kinder through 12th grade and primarily Tucson High's Raza Studies program because they believed that the program did the following: promotes the overthrow of the federal or state government or the Constitution, promotes resentment toward the white race, advocates ethnic solidarity instead of being individuals, are desired for a certain ethnicity, class discussion discussing the controversial history. In my opinion, I believe that most states in the United States are against teaching ethnic studies because of the fear of discussion and discovery of controversial history. If we had ethnic studies in grade school, for example, if I had ethnic studies in my grade school and high school, children today will be learning what I am learning in college now. That is, all this history of how Mexican Americans were treated and discriminated. we are only taught the good of the US, of what the US has done, but not how many Mexican Americans were deported, or the blowouts, or how Mexican and Mexican American children had to go to separate schools, having even if they were US citizens. I feel that they do not want these ethnic studies classes to avoid resentment and to try to hide the truth.